This is the first tank I set up in the end of August 2023 when the temperatures in New England were dropping and I had to move these fish indoors. So I have these guys to thank for getting me back into the hobby, and it was really by a mistake on my part, because I had a mosquito problem in my rain barrels and I was just so impatient. I couldn't find any gambusia locally, and I just needed something to consume the mosquito larvae, and I ended up going to Petco or PetSmart and buying some feeder goldfish, these comet goldfish, and I really made a mistake. I bought like a dozen of these things, and I ended up having to give some to a friend, return some to the pet store, and I kept the two largest ones that these two hung around together a lot. And another thing that I learned since buying these Oratus species fish is that they require a very large aquarium, and they get to be a foot long or more. And so I will be trying to find a new home for these two this spring, and hopefully I can find someone who has a pond, because I want them to have a good home. So let's talk about the tank. People say you can't keep plants with goldfish, but I was able to. You can keep some tough-leaved plants like Anubias over here, and Java fern. This was like a locally found moneywort plant, something like that. They didn't seem to bother that too much. This hornwort, you can see they chewed it up quite a bit, and they will chew that up till it's dead. When I have some extra, I throw some in there, and they'll take care of that, and it'll just give them something to munch on. This is some of that local moneywort plant. I put in some salvinia, and they chewed the roots right off of it, and it died. So they will eat up and destroy plants. But anyway, the snails, I'm not too good with snails that require special care. I'm better with snails like bladder snails and ram's horn snails, where they seem to do okay without any special care. But these nerite snails, supposedly they were good algae eaters, and I didn't really find them to be. And these nerite snails didn't survive, and the mystery snail didn't survive either. I fed it zucchini, and I put calcium in the tank as crushed eggshells, and they just didn't. I had two that I purchased off the woman who had this aquarium, and neither of them made it. So this is an aquarium co-op light. I wanted a decent light, so I did pay around $100 for this light. It is very well built, and I really like it. But I have since bought some cheaper LEDs from Amazon. And these aquarium co-op sponge filters, they're very nice. I bought the Zis air stones from them for these, and I found that I since removed them, because I found that it's even though they're called never clog air stones, I don't know, I must have had them screwed together too tightly or something. But anyway, I couldn't even blow air bubbles through these tubes with my mouth, so I was like, what kind of pressure is required? I tried to loosen them and but I decided, not to put them back in after I moved this tank downstairs. Uh, Substrate, since it's not a planted aquarium, I used this gravel, and I added some crushed coral to the substrate. I ended up adding too much, and it was really tough to end up removing it. Um, Now I put it in bags that I clip on the back of the tank. I find that's way easier because I can regulate the amount of crushed coral without having to dig it out of the substrate. And the heater, you can see I didn't really need a heater with these fish, but that was another mistake I learned. That I was keeping this tank at about 75 degrees, mid 70s, and once I was reading up about the goldfish, that they really don't like warmer temperatures, so now they don't have a heater. They're in the cellar, which is colder, and without a heater.
You're now looking at the second tank that I acquired, specifically for the purpose of raising baby guppies. The model is a top fin Engage 5-gallon, and it is my smallest aquarium. I had purchased the mother guppy already very pregnant, but I had no idea what the father looked like. There were about 30 fry, and this photo was taken after the males were removed and separated. My intention was to only allow the best specimens to breed in the following generation. Bladder snails have scientific name Physella acuta. Can you identify the plant species? Please let me know in the comments.
Now let's talk about some of the physical aspects of this aquarium. The top fin comes with a plastic cover with a built-in LED in the top, but it's not sufficient for growing plants. So in order to grow plants, I'm using a different LED light, and I had to remove the cover during the photo period, the period when the lights are on. I've been using a 6-hour photo period, and I found that's sufficient to keep these plants growing. Because the cover is not on top of this aquarium, I had to put some type of dust cover for this rear chamber, and I'm using oak leaves for that. I just was already using some of them inside the aquariums, and so I had them available. And I like the fact that they allow air into the chamber, because the bacteria here are aerobic bacteria. So I wanted to have as much oxygen as possible for the bacteria. The pump in this aquarium is very slow. It's a very low powered pump at only 50 gallons per hour. And that's why you see another pump in here, an internal filter of 80 gallons per hour. The reason this is added is because I notice cyanobacteria.
Cyanobacteria, also known as blue-green algae.
How I dealt with the cyanobacteria will be covered in another video. The young guppies seem to really enjoy the occasional flow from the internal filter.
For filtration, the top fin is designed to use disposable filter cartridges in the left side of the large rear chamber. I decided to skip that and focus on biological filtration by filling the right side with lots of plastic biomedia. I also placed filter floss directly behind the intake slots. The floss provides some mechanical filtration, but more importantly, it prevents any small livestock from entering the filter chamber. This is the tank as it stands today, with half a plastic drink cup and a large bunch of guppy grass.
Nagus guadeloupensis.
The reason I installed this half drink cup was to create an area uh, over here that was an area of calmness that was, so wouldn't be affected by this wash of the turbulent water with bubbles from the airstone. Uh, and this calm area, I wanted the guppies, if they had babies in here, just to be able to, for the babies to be able to stay in this calm section away from. I mean, the adults love to swim up and down in the flow here, but I wanted to keep this area calm, and it seems to be working out pretty. Okay, for the third tank as a 10-gallon male guppy tank. This is for the guppies. Uh, After they grew up out of the 5-gallon tank, I put the males in this 10-gallon tank, and I'm not going to say too much about this tank because I have a video clip about the cloudy water issues I've been having with it. I want to replace the heater definitely because I can't control the temperature with this type of heater. Well, their tank was cloudy, so I wasn't sure what to do. I ran a charcoal filter for a while, and I don't know if that did anything. But then I measured the pH today was 8.3, and I already added like over 2 gallons of rainwater or something, a gallon and a half of straight rainwater after draining some water out of the tank. So I thought the pH would come down a bit, but it didn't. And the TDS is low. It's like 130, 140. Like it's not even neutral TDS. So I don't know. I just put some eggshell in there to get the TDS up or something, and I put tannins in. Like I'm trying to see if these catappa seed pods from local catappa trees are any good for lowering the pH. I don't know if this is going to help or not. I don't know what to do. On to tank number 4, the female guppy tank. This tank has been super stable with 0 nitrates and neutral TDS. The plants in the tank are Amazon frogbit,
Limnobium levigatum,
hornwort,
Ceratophyllum demersum,
Saswassertang,
Lomeriopsis lineata,
and Bulbitis.
Bulbitis heteroclita.
So tank number 5 is the MEDAKA tank. MEDAKA are Japanese rice fish. I'm sure many of you have heard of these fish. And I was really excited about getting some of these fish. I couldn't find any locally, and so I ended up ordering them from dansfish.com, and I got a group of these Pearl Galaxy MEDAKA, and I think these are great fish. Great for first-time fish keepers, and people should keep these instead of goldfish because they don't get to be over a foot long. They're not very long-lived, though. They only live about a year, so that might be disappointing to children. But at least they don't have to buy a 150-gallon tank. So you'll notice that it's a reptile tank. Yes, I could not find any 20-gallon aquariums, and there was no 50% off sale at the time, so I ended up with this. I couldn't find anybody with a horror story about a reptile tank busting open, so I filled it with water and hoped for the best. I've since moved the heater down more horizontal toward the bottom so that if you do a large water change, it will not expose the heater to the air. Also, I mean, this tank, I consider it a planted tank. I mean, I have plants in my other tanks, but I consider a planted tank one that I can plant roots into the substrate. So this substrate, um, never. This substrate is a combination of sand, um, some aquarium gravel, and some ADA Amazonia, which has nutrients. It didn't take that long to cycle, as some people are afraid of like the ammonias in these kind of this type of substrate, but I didn't find it took that long to cycle the aquarium. So I tested the nitrate level in this tank last night, and I can't believe it's the highest nitrate levels of any of my aquariums, with 25 parts per million. And there's very little algae growth. So the way I can explain this, is, I guess, is the light feeding, the low temperature, um, floating plants block the light, and the result is very little algae. The tank is kind of new. I mean, it was just set up in the fall, um, early winter 2023, so maybe it just hasn't gone through the algae stages yet. And there are 3 or 4 ram's horn snails in there that I find them to be very active, and they do a great job. So now the plants in this tank that you don't see in the previous tanks is water spangles,
Salvinia minima,
Amazon sword red Reuben,
Echinodorus species,
duckweed,
subfamily Lemnoideae,
and tape grass, also known as eelgrass.
Vallisneria spiralis.
Fun fact, Vallisneria spiralis is the straight Vallisneria, and Vallisneria asiatica is the spiral corkscrew type. Who would have thought? Hello again. So this is tank 6 of 7, the MEDAKA fry hatching tank. And I'll just take you through some of the photos. Obviously, this is after they've hatched. I collected eggs for a period of roughly 2 to 3 weeks through manual collection, removing the eggs directly from the female. I netted the female and then just pried the eggs away from her body and into the shrimp net, and then placed them in the hatching tank on a plant. They have some stringy material, strings attached to the eggs, so they tend to stay in a clump together on whatever plant you place them onto. All this hair algae and a lot of plant growth happened, after I've been feeding the babies, with the extra nutrients in the water, and the number of fish here. There's plenty of nutrients for the plants. Where's my arrow? Here we go. All right, here's some little fry swimming up at the surface. There's just a sponge filter on here. I had set to very low power initially, and increased it as they grew a little older. Here they are swimming around. I think I gave them some micro worms here, and they were just picking them off. You can see all the hairs on the roots of these Amazon frogbit is quite dense, and all the bare bottom tank here with all the waste. There's the frogbit roots again. this was taken before the any fry had hatched, but you know, you can just see how he set up the tank. It was just bare bottom. I let any dead plant material just stay in the tank and become as natural as possible, and hopefully some paramecium would grow during that time. To cycle the tank, I had put in some bags of material from an existing tank, this porous filter material, 2 bags worth, and I had prepared the tank maybe a week or 2 before I placed any eggs into it. This is probably pre-hatching. This just shows my brine shrimp hatching setup. This video shows one little fry over here. They're so tiny. I don't believe they're large enough to take baby brine shrimp from what I've seen. They definitely need like green water or paramecium at the beginning. I also have some ceramicron food, but the paramecium and I didn't have green water. I had like an attempted paramecium that I was feeding to them, and I think at this they're like the size of an eyelash. They will not take baby brine shrimp. Here's a little fry, less than the width of the hornwort stem. Overall, they're little tiny things. Another picture. Same thing. Oh, is that it? Is that all I have? I guess so. So that's it for the MEDAKA fry. These were my first egg-laying fish that I've ever done. So I think the next egg layer I want to try is like the common shiner. This tank is 20 long, is filling up. This is going to be where the MEDAKA fry grow up in after they're all on brine shrimp. I've got about 60 to 75 fry from a 2 to 3 week period of collecting eggs from these Dan's fish. Arizius latipes. But the fry are going to go in here. I need a lot of room, so I put in another 20 gallon. This is their cold water downstairs. I'll start it at 72 and try to work down, because it goes below that, way below that down here. Like it gets 59 degrees. Well, I just decided to swap the substrate for darker, since I am going to be trying to keep the color good on these fish for sale. It's not that much substrate. I know it's not enough, but I had natural color in there, which was lighter, so this should help. I mean, I just had to take it out when it was wet. What a pain! But and I'm going to use this Fluval fry hatchery for biological filtration. I'm going to try that. I've already got some bioballs on one side, and I'm going to put the C-Chem matrix, already established bacteria, in this chamber over here. hopefully there's enough airflow through this thing with air power. It's going to be quad shared off of this Whisper 100. So we'll see what kind of flow we can get through this chamber. But this has a half a gallon capacity of volume. And I just needed some biological filtration. I ran out of the little sponge kits. I had two, you know, up to, this 20 long up here has two of these sponge filters, but I ran out with one left, and I can either borrow the smaller aquarium co-op filter, take that out of the goldfish's tank, and then I can move it over here. But now that I have this, I don't think I'll need any more biological filtration than that. I had a big hang on the back on the left side, but it was, I mean, it's going to put so much flow here. I mean, these are juvenile rice fish. They don't like a lot of flow, you know. And even if it was just a, you know, power consumer with the hang on back, and it really didn't give me a very much capacity in the chamber of it. It was. Here is the breeder box up and running, and you can see there's not a whole lot of flow, but I think it should be enough. And you get a flavor for the sound of this box while it's running. And also have an open feeding area and a bunch of floating plants to get things going. And way underneath the floating plants, there is a small group of 3 low-grade guppy females, just to get the waste action going in this tank. I hope you've enjoyed seeing this final tank, and thank you for tuning in.